Well, breaking news, actor Paul Reubens has passed away last night. He's best known for playing 1980s children's show star Pee Wee Herman. A statement posted to social media said, "Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I've loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you." Reubens bravely and privately fought cancer for years. He was 70 years old. Joining us now for more is Dominic Patton, senior editor, legal and TV critic for Deadline Hollywood. So thank you so much for being here, Dominic. Can you talk a little bit about what you believe his legacy will be?
Well, I believe that Pee Wee Herman, first of all, it's incredibly sad, Paul Reubens passing, and again, his brave battle with cancer, a disease that many of us know and many of us know people who have dealt with, and that is a testament to him unto itself. But I would say that his legacy is one of endurance. I say that this is someone who created a historic figure, really changed the notion of what comedy on television could be, especially in his 1986 to 1990 Emmy-winning TV series Pee Wee's Playhouse, which was, I would say, almost giddy and irreverent in a way that we could never anticipate. Introduced a lot of people to the screen, like Lawrence Fishburne and many others. But, of course, he had the scandal that involved him and pornographic films and what have you. And then he had a resurrection, and he came back. In fact, just in 2010, he had a Broadway show, The Pee Wee Herman Show, which became an HBO special, which earned him an Emmy nomination. He's appeared in many, many different television shows, from The Blacklist on CBS to Fox's Gotham. And I think that he became someone who, in that snarky, cheeky way, kind of allowed everyone who'd grown up with television to re-love television as they were as a child. And that, from Yo Gabba Gabba to many of the shows we see on the streamers and others, he just completely changed it from what previously, and no disrespect, was kind of Captain Kangaroo's territory.
Well, he certainly had a major impact. There's no doubt about that. And his success, as you highlighted, really spanned the decades. So what do you believe led to his sustained success in this really difficult industry?
I think more than anything, Paul Reubens found something that truly connected with audiences. You know, he had come out of what's known as the Groundling Theater in the early 1980s. And, of course, there was Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which was a feature film, I believe, 1985, which really showed a whole different thing, and not just about bike riding, if you know what I mean. I think he connected with people. I think he showed people, I guess you could say, a little bit like The Simpsons, which I think in some ways is a part of his legacy. It works as a childish cartoon that's just fun and explosive and goofy, but there's also another level where it works for an adult, especially those of us who grew up with television and grew up in the era of television and children's morning television, et cetera, et cetera. It allowed us to mature with it. It allowed us to be part of something we enjoyed that had that spark of just sheer, I would say again, irreverence, but at the same time, a little bit of a wink, wink, and a nudge, nudge. And I think that's one reason why over the years, his fan base stayed so supportive, so loving, and grew. And he found new generations after a scandal that, let's be honest, you know, in the early 90s was kind of the death, no pun intended, for many people's career. He found a way through that, through honesty, through perseverance, and again, I'll say it, endurance. And that was, I think, his true legacy.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think when people think about Pee Wee Herman, the character he played and his other work, you just can't help but smile. He really brought smiles to so many of his viewers, his fans, and that was also something that was sustained. So why do you believe so many people kind of have a warm, fuzzy feeling about not only that character, but about him as an actor as well?
Well, because I would say first off the bat, he was incredibly funny and incredibly talented. And I think we can only hope that in creative industries, you know, like anything, the cream rises to the top. And certainly Paul Reubens and his character Pee Wee Herman had that. It allowed us to laugh and allowed us to think and it allowed us to ponder. And in the tradition of a George Carlin, a Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Eddie Izzard, Robin Williams, and many, many others, and Joan Rivers, that is something that comedy delivers on all levels, and he certainly had that ability. But he also had an infectious quality, and that was, this is fun. Let's have fun. Cowboy Curtis, everything else in the house, et cetera, and just him as a character himself, a little snarky, always, as I said before, a little cheeky, but always fun. And that, I think, is what people really loved about him.
Absolutely. And without using many words, which is really an art in and of itself. All right, Dominic, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.